So friends, today it's about Astanga, Astanga Yoga. When we say about what Astanga Yoga or what this implies in what our syllabi, where it includes into our syllabi. So it's basically the unit third of B.Ed Center. We are skipping the unit second for that sake because it will be good to first understand what this Astanga yoga is, and then we'll come upon the types of yoga because these 8 steps will help us. This introduction and all the briefing of all these Astanga steps and proceeding parts will help us in understanding what the types of yogas we have. That will make us more comfortable and understanding other aspects of yoga that we have in unit third. So it's very easy to understand. It will become very easy to understand what actually Raj Yogi versus Janana Yoga is. So it's good. So we are proceeding first towards the third unit, and that's the Astang Yoga. When we talk about Astang Yoga, so in other terms, it is also known as Yoga Darshana, because overall aspect of the yoga is the overall aim of yoga is to get the supreme realization of our own self. So it's something that we can doing the yoga from far away, and we are getting the distance from that aspect that what yoga is. And when we see from a distance that what yoga is without getting indulged into it, that means we're trying our best to understand in the basics of yoga, in the fundamentals of yoga. And for that, to get into to get ourselves merged into the world of yoga, to call ourselves full-fledged yogi, it's always good to have an overall look or kind of blueprint or preparing our body, our mind to get involved into those things. So it is just an overview of the things. We can say that Ashtanga is also known as Yoga Darshana. So it is something, a kind of progress of Jiva through this process. So in Ashtanga, we are going to know about some of the processes actually, and those processes which will lead us to understand yoga, to get the purposes, get the motives of yoga. So to get the aims, objectives of yoga, this is just a minor thing. This is just a part of that. And this will make us more enabled to get all those objectives and aims of yoga. So Astanga, it is better if we bifurcate these things. So is Ast means it's 8, and the rest is Anga. So Anga is, we can say, as limbs, the parts. So the 8 parts. And traditionally, or if we go to some of the deep very old testimonials on that, so we go to Upanishads, then it's really very tough to understand that what these 8 limbs actually denoted to. See, we can say that yoga has noted down from the animal creatures of like from the animals, or we some other have the philosophies that it has been noted down from the limbs of the or trees, or to make it more succinct, we can say that Astanga, where it has come from, if we really want to ask ourselves where these 8 limbs has come from. So basically, these are the processes to get the aims and objectives of yoga. And the origin of these, we can simply say that it has the source of these Astangas are the nature. So now it's on individual to accept that, whether it's from the animals or from other thoughts or from any other extreme object or from the inner. So it's all from the individuals. So the first is, we can say that the source of these 8 limbs are the nature, and nature is really unlimited. So it's upon the individual to realize study on the things that what they aspect. Likewise, same we have analyzed that if we say about that our motive is to get into the supreme, to understand, to get involved into supreme. So what that supreme is, that can be our own self within our own knowledge. That it's all depends upon the individual. So it's an individual aspects. If we talk about Astanga, so Ast and it's the Anga. So it's the 8 parts or the 8 limbs that uh, get denoted by what the indications of this Astanga is. So in a brief, if we say that what Astanga are in a crisp manner, so the best way is to say it as these Astanga means the 8 anga, the limbs. So it means 8 limb path. Astanga is based on yoga philosophy of Patanjali. Therefore, Astanga Yoga literally means 8 limbed yoga. So we also say that Patanjali system of meditation instructed us to follow these 8 parts. So it's all we are going to talk about is Astanga means 8 processes, 8 parts, or 8 commands from the Patanjali system of yoga. So these 8 parts further have been divided into many aspects. And in brief, if we say that first one, it's the yama. Yama is actually something that says us what we should do. So yama is something that says us, what we should not do. So it's something says us that some acts that must be prohibited for an individual if he wants the supreme to get attained, if he wants the aims and objectives of yoga and the meditation, and if he gets his life to be more skilled, more peaceful, in a more harmonious way. So the first thing is yama. Yama is a kind of uh, indications that says us that don't do these things. So it is a kind of a moral course, we can say. We'll get into brief of this also. Next is niyama, and niyama is something that says us to do's. If yama is saying us that what not to do, niyama is saying us that what we should do. These are kind of injunctions. Injunctions means these are some kind of directions, commands, the authoritative warnings that we get that we should follow. These are the things that we should do. We should do. So these are also further been explained into 5 more steps that we will look into those 5 further steps of it. The next is asana. Asana is the body posture, and in general we said these are the postures of the body and to maintain those postures. But these are very general terms. Actually, asana is not saying us not saying us that we should limit our body to a particular posture only. So that's the narrow concept of asana. Asana is associated with the controlling of mind, giving time to self, giving our muscular in coordination, putting our muscles in coordination with the mind, in coordination with the breath system also. So asana is something that control our body, that trains us for our physical body, and pranayama is something that trains us for the breathing, for the breath. How being to understand actually pranayama. So pranayama is something that making us learn about how to control. It's training of the breath, how we should control our breath. And same way, when we perform asanas, we use pranayama. So it's a systematic adaptation. It's a systematic thing that says that asana and prana are very much associated with each other. So asana, we perform it in association with pranayama. So in association with the energy, the cosmic energy, we say. So we are controlling the energy, we are controlling the breath. So that's what pranayama is. Pratyahara. Pratyahara is something that says you how individual have started understanding that what the supreme power is, how it is now understanding that how his body to be used to be taken away from the society, taken away from the senses. So pratyahara is something that makes us to begin to understand what the senses are and how to control those senses. Next is the dharna. Dharna is also known as concentration, concentrating on something particular. So putting our mind on something particular and then concentrating on anything. It could be om, it could be on your own self. So dharna is concentration, and if we move further, that dharna leads to dhyana. So concentration is a state that's something in the beginning that states that comes after pratyahara, after understanding our own body posture, after social niyams, and now that posture is leading to what we actually have to achieve, the supreme power to reach us, to understand what or to understand more in ourselves. So pratyahara is a mid path that makes us understand, that makes us bringing our own self more out of our social activities, and now we are leading towards the supreme powers. So dharma is the concentration that comes after pratyahara, and dharma then when get matured, it leads to dhyana. Dhyana is the next level of dharma. So concentration leads to meditation. The same way we say that dharna leads to dhyana. Dhyana is the meditation. It's meditation is something that keeps on keep on sitting for long hours. You keeps on you concentrating on yourself with a flow. So it's the more mature stage of concentration, and the supreme or the ultimate that we get, that individual when elevates itself with the or with all the powers, elevated itself with all the absorptions. So that comes the samadhi. Samadhi is the supreme step here, we say. So that's what the samadhi is. Now, these are the states. We also will study in way further in the next slides. We'll keep on studying in brief all these steps. So, overall, if we wish to say that, we can easily mark out that 8 limbs of Patanjali system of yoga meditation. So these 8 limbs are yama, niyama, asana, pranayam, pratyahara, dharana, dhyana, and samadhi. So these are also known as Astangas, or we say Yoga Darshana. So it teaches us how to progress ourselves, how to make ourselves more progressive in order to achieve the supreme purpose of yoga system. So in all these 8 parts, if we further can divide these 8 parts into let me take some suitable color. So if we talk about these two, first the yama and then the niyama. So yama and niyama are said to be those aspects, those limbs of Ashtanga Yoga that says us to control our behavior. We'll further have a discussion on it, how to control our behavior. That is said by yama and niyama. So yama and niyama says us that how we should control our behavior. So that behavior part is covered under yama. So it talks about the principal aspects of what is the moral codes, what are the principles, what are the universal moralities that to be followed. So these two are the things that we say that improves our behavior. And when we come about rest of the things, it's the third, asana, pranayam, and pratyahara. These three, this says about how to control our body, how to control our breath, and how to control our senses. So this is a one part. If we want to divide it, so this get divided below the yellow, it's the one part, and this is the mid part, and above it, it's dharana dhyana is the third part. Yama says us, Niyama says us how to improve our behavior. Asana, pranayam, pratyahara, that says us how to control our breathing, how to control our body, and how to control our senses. And now, if we may lead on to some other aspects, then what the purpose of these 8 parts are. So there comes the point. So dharana, dhyana, and samadhi. These are the centric points. So this says us how to control the mind. So the yama is the first thing, and yama is saying us about how to control our behavior. And when we talk about yama, that means we are talking about the principles, that we are talking about moral codes, we are talking about universal moralities. Or in other way, we can say that we are talking about the prohibitions, that what has been said as not to be done. So we don't require these things in our life. These are the things that we have to get rid of these things. So what the things are prohibited, it's also having 5 parts. First is ahimsa. And ahimsa is something that is said as non-violence. So ahimsa is saying us about not to harm anyone. So ahimsa is compassion for all living things. So yama, first division is it's ahimsa. And then it comes about the satya. Satya is not lying. You don't do the thing. So second is what not to do. What not to be done is not lying. It's a commitment to truthfulness, your own truthfulness. So that improves the behavior. Astya. Astya is non-stealing. So don't go to that limits that you steal someone's properties. You steal someone's peaceful mind even. So it's something that to steal. The opposite is to take nothing that does not belong to us. The main theme is that only. So astya is non-stealing. Brahmacharya is something that says us to improve ourselves in social aspect. So don't lose the control. So no improper sex is also said as brahmacharya. So it's about attunement. Attunement, we can say that to bringing into harmony, to be more responsive towards the family, towards the society. So that's brahmacharya. Attuning self to make aware about, to make ourselves more aware about what is good and what is not good in terms of moralities. So brahmacharya, we can also say it as the sense control. Next part of yama itself is aparigraha. Aparigraha is, in simple terms, it says us what not to do is don't be greedy. So it prohibits from the possessiveness. In other terms, we can say that we are required not to grasp anything. So it prohibits us from grasping of anything. So if once again we want to revise it, then once again we say that yama, or we simply say it as pancha yamas. Yama have further 5 steps. These rules have further 5 steps. These orders have the first order, yama itself having 5 further steps, and the first step is it's red. So the first step is ahimsa. So 5 parts of yama is, first is ahimsa. Ahimsa is non-violence, or in other ways we can say not to harm any human being or even any living thing. That's ahimsa. The word ahimsa literally means not to injure or show cruelty to a creature, any person. So it is actually saying us you should be polite to everything, to everyone, whether it's living or non-living. You get to get adopt to those individual, those any external thing into your body. So that's the ultimate prime thing. So feeling that external thing as your own part, and you are not violating, you are not putting any harm to them. So you are not doing anything that's invalid for any other individual also. So ahimsa is compassion for all living things. So it mainly talks about the compassionate thing, the compassion for all living beings. Then it's the satya. Satya is the commitment to truthfulness. So it's about truthfulness, or we can say that not lying. So Satya means to speak the truth. Yet it is not always desirable to speak the truth, on all occasions, for it could harm someone unnecessarily. So that's the main point. Is even you Yama says that don't try to harm anyone, and try to be uh, in the position that is truthful for all the individuals, and in that truthfulness, try not to harm anyone. So this is a commitment to truthfulness. Astya is simple terms. It's non-stealing. Satya means stya, actually stya. Stya means to steal, and astya means not to steal. So this also means that if we are in a situation where someone trusts something to us or confides in us, so we do not need to take any advantage of those individuals. So non-stealing includes not only taking what belongs to another without permission, but also using something for a different purpose to that intended or beyond the time permitted by our owners. So we need not to be a person who is getting of that senses, getting of that mind, to how looking upon that opportunities to steal something out from the from other individual, which is not actually ours. And brahmacharya is talking about the discipline of life, and to be more social, to be more man-like behavior, to be more human-like behavior, and to be a real gentleman, we say. So brahmacharya in simple senses, if you have to write it, so we can, the best word is right to control the senses. Aparigraha. So aparigraha matlab, it means, it actually saying us to neutralizing the desires to acquire or hoard wealth. So don't get attracted towards the wealth. So possessiveness is the right term for this. Okay, and even if we other words, we can say that you need not to go for every time to grasp up the property of others, or anything to possess, take into control of anything you want to take control. You want the control of all other living things. So this is what actually the 8 parts of all these Panch Yama. So it's Ahimsa, Satya, Astanga, Brahmacharya, and Aparigraha. Next is Niyama. So we learned that Yama says us what not to do, and Niyama says us tells us about the injunctions. It's a kind of direction that what should we do. So it's a kind of instructions coming up from the Patanjali, that what we should do. So the first thing that we say is Soch. The Soch is, when we say it's Soch, so Soch is about the purity. So is the purity, and what purity of what? Purity of what? It's of mind, it's of body, it's of thoughts. So Soch is purity, cleanliness, outside also, inside also. So this is what we all are required. So purity of body and mind. The first niyama is soch, meaning purity and cleanliness. Socha has both an internal and an outer aspect. So outer cleanliness simply means keeping ourselves clean. Inner cleanliness and the outer cleanliness. So this is what the soch is all about. After the purity, Yama says santosha. Santosha means the contentment. And contentment, we can say contentment as the state of being happy. So it's about happiness, to be satisfied with the things. So it's about contentment. Modesty, feeling of being content with whatever we have. So that santosh should be there. So soch, your thought should be pure, clean. You should feel the satisfied as feel all the satisfaction in your mind. And now the tapas. Then only you lead on to a disciplined life. So tapas is talking about the disciplined way of life. Tapas is disciplined use of our energies. So living without comfort. If we rid ourselves with all the extraordinary comforts that we require, so we are omitting all comforts from our list of benefits, our list of daily routines. So it's all is austerity is also a word that we usually perfectly suits to it. AUSTERIT, austerity. So it's something that we're putting ourselves into discipline, and all these disciplines actually for what? It's a kind of self-discipline. It's a kind of spiritually living the life. For example, spiritual disciplines, we say we can have a fast once a week. So fasting. So that's what the tapas is. You are leading to a spiritually disciplined way. So tapas refers to the activities of keeping the body fit or to comfort and handle the inner urges without outer shows. We have to leave out those outer comforts or luxurious life. So this is what actually tapas wanted to highlight. Swadhyaya, if we can brief it more on, we can equally divide this in two parts. So Swadhyaya is the self and Adhyaya, study. So self study, analysis of self. The most important, what I feel, is the analyzation of self, our own study. And this fourth nima is swadhyaya. Swa means self, adhyaya means inquiring, examining our own self. So any activity that cultivates self-reflective consciousness can be considered swadhyaya. Making our own self into the situation and analyzing the situation, getting rid of the things that don't required in a life of harmony as per yogic terms. So that's swadhyaya. Learning from our own self, learning from our own faults, and progressing for a better life is swadhyaya. So Niyama's fourth step is swadhyaya. Then is Ishvara Prani Dhana. Ishvara Pranadhana is simply can be said as, if we say it as, it can be said as, so we are talking about prayer. So is Ishvara Pranidhaya, so remembering of the supreme power. So it's something we say, it's about prayer. So this is also many times known as Atma, Atman, this one, Prani Dhan. Mean you are getting involved into our own self. You are remembering, you are concentrating the inner power. So you are concentrating on the supreme power. So means to lay all your actions to the feet of God. You are doing everything, remembering the God. So that's Ishvara Pranidhana. In order to become more attuned to God or God's will. So it is the recognition that the spiritual suffices everything. So keeping that thing in mind, you performing your tasks. So that's Ishvara Pranidhana. So these are again the 5 steps. Once again, it's a soch, cleanliness, is the santosh, your contentment, is the purpose, the spiritual discipline life. Swadhyaya, self-study, and is the praying, keeping the supreme power in mind always. So these are panch niyamas. Now we can easily say that the first one is yama. Second one is niyama. So these both steps leads us to control our behavior. Now we are moving to the third one, and it's asanas. It's very easy. Not actually posture, but can generally relate ourselves with these terms that asana is actually talking about. We are talking about posture. So it's something training of the body. So our prime focus is the body itself, and we put our all concentration with our body positions. And this is a narrow definition of posture. This is not the correct definition of posture because asana is not limited to body postures. Asana involves breathings, asana involves concentration, also involves to get all the niyamas, all the yamas. So asana is not limited. We cannot limit asana to body posture. So if we say it's simply asana means putting ourselves into a particular posture, so that's not correct. Asana is something that we are getting involved into number of things, and this is just one thing. So it's the asana, stable and comfortable posture, which helps attain mental equilibrium. So that's what all the posture is. And when we talk about pranayam, so pranayam is something that we are dealing with the breathing. So first and two was controlling of the body. So here is the asana and pranayam is controlling of body, controlling of breathing. So we can say that asana is something that is related with training of body, and we having a separate unit for it. We'll more elaborate asana on those things. We having a separate unit on pranayam. We'll elaborate the things on that. So asana is for the controlling of the body, pranayam for controlling of the breathing. Pratyahara is something that if we divide these 8 steps, so pratyahara is something that comes in between. Pratyahara is something that says us that when we started realizing ourselves that where we have to go, what we have to do, how we have to do. So this is pratyahara. Pratyahara is a stage where we can say that now we have started controlling, understanding that how to control our senses. So it's just a beginning. We have beginning to understand how to control the senses. It's just the kind of thing that we are now getting into next stage. That stage is dharana, dhyana, and samadhi. Now we are getting into next stage, and this stage are to attain this stage. Pratyahara is a kind of thing that's make us realize that how we should withdraw from the things. For example, if we talk about dharana, dharana is concentration. If we don't withdraw our senses, for example, listening. So if we don't control, if we keep listening the voices from all over the room, voices of the horns, voices of vehicles, so what we will not be able to concentrate. So this is something pratyahara in simple words can be said as this is withdrawal. This is a kind of withdrawal of senses. So we remain, we put ourselves more control. We prepare ourselves more for the next 3 supreme steps. So dharana. Dharana is concentration. Concentration on anything, we say that we can concentrate on Om chant. So that can also be there. We can concentrate on our own self. So that can also be there. So dharana is something you are putting yourself into concentration. And the next level of concentration is dhyana. When you put yourself in concentration for long hours, what it requires, dharana. Dharana requires perfect asanas, perfect pranayams, you understanding what pratyahara is, and slowly you leads on to concentration. And the next stage that comes, the advanced stage of concentration is dhyana. It's a meditation. Concentration of mind on an object and its fields. So this is a further stage of that. You are putting yourself into more controlled way. You are free to concentrate. Now you are in a thing that you are in a flow, and you are not get bothered. You are not get disturbed by other senses. Now your senses are in control. You have the ability to control, to concentrate for to any particular thing. And now it's an advanced stage. It's a dhyana, and now you are meditating into particular thing, and you are getting involved into that thing. And what that leads to, when you get involved into those things, you get the distance word omitted from all your dictionaries. So there's no gap, there's no distance, and that is a stage of samadhi. That means after concentration, it's meditations, and you get yourself involved into meditation in such a way that you are no more recognized by the distance between your good self and the object on which you are concentrating. Say it's a light or something, and so samadhi uh, is something that the best alternative for samadhi is absorption. You get yourself absorbed with the thing. You get into this particular item, into that particular thing. The distance get diminishes, and until that finally there's no distance whatsoever. Whomsoever you are concentrating on. So there remains no distance. You overcome that distance, and now you are putting yourself, that thing has come into you, or we can say that you have went into, you have immersed into, you have merged yourself into that concentrating thing. In simple terms, we say that samadhi is that you have elevated yourself in a higher divine nature. You are meeting with the divine. So infinite self, ultimate step is the samadhi. Now there's no social aspect for you, because that distance has gone, the gap has gone. You have immersed yourself within that particular nature. So you get involved into it. So no distinction, and there's no difference now between the knower and the know. So between no difference between the knower and the known. Now the gap is not there. So there's no difference between you and the world. So it's all, we can conclude the thing is that it's all in one, or all is one. So we can conclude in these things. So samadhi is something that you got the supreme power, and now there remains no distance in anything. So at the last slide, we want to conclude on the things, and if we want to conclude the things, so we're having the 8 steps, and first one is Astanga Yoga. In the first step is prohibition, and what prohibition is? Prohibition means it's the yamas. We don't require those things, and we are talking about yamas. Next is injunctions. There are some orders now. We have to do certain things. So that's injunctions. When we train our body, so when we train our body, it's that means we are talking about asanas. And when we talk about breathing, we are talking about pranayam. So that's the 4th step. And now when we started analyzing ourselves, when we understand, come to the situation that now we can withdraw ourselves from the situations, from the senses. So that's, yeah, it's pratyahara. Now the next is Concentration, we can say it is dharana. The advanced stage is meditation, and now here comes the ultimate supreme state where there's no gap between you and the society, you and the power with the supreme power. Now you are the supreme power, and you are get engaged yourself into supreme power. So that's what this is. These are the Astang Yoga. This is what we all mean by Astang Yoga. In case you have any doubts, please, I'm on the screen. Please